Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States, looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices that are making a difference as we move towards the 21st century. And as we move to 2050, when we add about 2 billion new souls on this planet, how we're going to be able to provide the basic infrastructure, the food, the fuel, the fiber, water, education, healthcare, all these things that are essential to human life. We're going to be talking about energy as one of those critical units that need to come before us. And as you know, there's a giant movement away from fossil fuels, more to the renewables, and it's really an important mix of the renewables. But the best thing to think about is the best kilowatt hour is the one that you actually do not have to use. And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me that's going to be talking about that. How do we get into conserving energy and also to make whatever it is that's coming into your building, where it's a commercial or a farm or a homestead, is that how can we best use whatever that energy is. His name is Kurt J. Fund, who is the principal of ZeroNet USA. And Kurt, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you very much, Sam. A pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you with us, and we're going to bring up your logo. I really like this logo because we're going to take a little play off of your name, ZeroNet USA, but really we're moving towards net zero. So tell us about your company, and then we're going to start talking about this phenomena of net zero.
Well, our firm, ZeroNet, is in the business of building energy efficiency. So we serve business owners, homeowners, and property managers by identifying areas of energy waste in buildings and then helping them make their buildings more energy efficient. We were founded about 5 years ago, and to date we've serviced or performed over 30,000 energy audits, quick energy checkups, and energy improvements.
That is incredible, 30,000. Wow, that's quite impressive. Now, looking at this whole thing, I know that when we first started talking with really the emphasis on LED lighting, and this is kind of what they call the low-hanging fruit, but really you see it not just the fact that you're helping people to almost immediately to see a return on their investment, but long-term it really gives you a platform to talk with the building owners, whether it's commercial or ag or homeowners, and then allow them to think more about the envelope, think more about the energy source, think more about conservation, insulation, all these different topics.
Well, that's right. We try to look at the building as a system of various interrelated components, the lighting being one of the most important, of course, because it often offers the fastest return on investment with efficient lighting improvements. But we also look at how lighting interacts with the HVAC or the heating cooling systems, and then of course the building envelope. So we look at not only efficiency issues, but how efficiency interacts with durability and health and safety of the occupants in those buildings.
Well, looking at what we call HVAC, let's define our terms. What is HVAC? And then I have a follow-on question to that.
Sure. Well, HVAC is just an industry abbreviation for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Well, I think that's very important because many people talk about buildings, they need to breathe. Buildings don't breathe. You know, there's air exchanges and all these other kinds of things. So looking at lighting and the impact on the HVAC, that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, what is the relationship between those two, and why is it important that people really understand that a building truly is, whether it's a house or a large scale, you know, Empire State Building or whatever, is a really complex system?
Well, to give you one example of the interrelation, lights produce traditionally, but every kind of light produces heat. And this is really important, especially in southern climates, but also in commercial buildings. Most commercial buildings in the United States produce a lot or require a lot more cooling than heating. So with traditional light sources that produce a lot of heat, incandescents and halogens, that heat can be largely offset with newer, more efficient LEDs. LED lighting doesn't produce as much heat, And there's some residual savings based on the cooling requirements not being as great. We recently completed a grocery store, and grocery stores are a great example of a building which is producing heat. It's somewhat paradoxical at first, but all of the freezers and refrigerators are producing a lot of heat, 12 months a year. That grocery store required cooling. Even in the middle of winter. And so with an LED upgrade, that cooling requirement is a lot less.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And also looking at, just as we're going into the outside use of lighting, whether it's in parking decks or filling stations or what have you, there's a tremendous amount of light. But tell us the special nature of these lights where, they can be much more efficient, but they give you more light. I mean, that's almost counterintuitive as well.
Well, LED lighting represents an extraordinary technology and a wonderful opportunity for building owners, but also for looking at the big picture of the energy situation in our country as a whole. Stepping back for a moment, lighting accounts for between 30 and 60% of the typical energy usage of a commercial building, depending on climate and the type of building. And buildings as a whole, residential and commercial, account for 50% or close to half of the overall energy consumption in our country. So when you consider that LED lighting represent potential savings of between 50 up to 90% over older lighting sources.
Let's say that again. That's really important.
Yeah, compared to older lighting sources such as incandescents, halogens, and sodium or metal halide fixtures, LED replacements can save up to 90%. In some cases, we've seen even 93, 94% savings.
That is absolutely incredible. And so what we're looking at in these commercial operations right here, of course, this is at a filling station, and this would, I would assume, be similar to, say, a parking deck or something that's outside. And then you have this huge warehouse and or manufacturing facility. And what you're telling the business owner, if we come in and retrofit, or if you build in advance, if you're doing new construction, is that you can cut your costs anywhere from 60 to 90+%. It should have everybody's attention.
Right, and that's just the electric or the lighting costs.
So that's why you really start with this LED, get your foot in the door, say, hey, let's come in, do an energy audit, and then you can kind of educate, graduate them to the next level as far as the HVAC and insulation and all these things.
That's right. So the term a lot of people use in our industry is the low-hanging fruit. And very often, old, inefficient lighting sources, which are based on technologies that are, in some cases, 100 years old, that's the low-hanging fruit. And LEDs represent the best opportunity to make a good return on investment, in some cases as low as a year or even less, and at the same time reduce the overall energy needs of that building. And it's a win-win-win for the building owner, for the local economy, and for the environment.
Yeah, I tell you, that's really incredible. I'm going to go back to this because this is an incredible photograph of someone standing there. It's almost like an ant, with an elephant behind them, and then you go to this kind of environment. So what is the difference between these, or is it just a matter of scale? Is that the energy savings, the importance to the environment, but also the triple bottom line, as people say, of really impacting on the economy, upon the humans that are living there in the environment, all benefit from looking at this type of lighting system?
Right, and one thing I haven't mentioned yet is the longevity of these lights. LED lights are engineered to last typically 50,000 hours or over 10 years. So in many cases, the last slide you showed that in the warehouse, that represents some additional savings in maintenance costs. Think about having to get up there to change a light that's burning up in 30, 40, 50 feet in the air every couple of years. When you don't have to do that, when your light's going to last for 10 years or longer, that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, I tell you, it's just fantastic. And looking at this very attractive apartment condominium building, it's really the same thing. But I think what is really interesting about all this, Kurt, is that you're spending far less, but you're getting more light. So what is the engineering, the physics of the LED lighting that allows that to happen?
Well, LED technology is based, it's called solid state technology, because unlike an incandescent where you're basically heating up a filament, or a fluorescent light where you're heating up or exciting electrons in gas. LED is based on running electricity through a semiconductor. It's very similar and uses similar materials to those used in the computer industry.
And what you're doing too, I think at the same time, is this miniaturization of virtually everything we are using in society, which goes to answering this question about we have 2 billion new people coming on the planet by 2050 and how we're going to take care of them. And we can't keep doing the same old ways that we were 50, 100, even 20 years ago. So what we're looking at here as far as this particular slide is this relationship as far as the housing and of the lighting itself, the fixture, and then at the same time is how we're actually reducing the use and reducing the heat. Is that correct?
Right. Well, in this slide, one important point to note is that LEDs have come a long way even over the past couple years. Some people who may have had bad experiences with first generation LEDs found that the color temperatures were too high. On that color chart, they would have been in the blue range, 5,000–6,000 Kelvin. And what that means is that they didn't have that warm yellow glow that we're used to in our homes. But since then, LEDs have really been engineered to be available in a wide variety, a wide range of color spectrums. Prices are falling rapidly. And in many cases, the LEDs can be engineered to look just like regular incandescents or the old-fashioned incandescents, so that they're really indistinguishable to a casual observer.
Well, and I think that's what we're looking at this particular unit here. Tell us a little bit about the mechanics of this particular bulb. What would it be if it was incandescent? What is it now as an LED? What is the heat signature of this versus the old incandescent?
Well, the most important fact about this bulb is that this is an LED replacement for the A19 regular old-fashioned 40-watt bulb. There's so many millions of them all across America. And instead of using 40 watts, depending on the manufacturer, the LED equivalent provides the same output for between 6 and 9 watts. So there's over a 75% savings.
That's incredible savings, and we've just run out of time. About 15 seconds. That's all we have. What do you see for the future of ZeroNet USA?
Well, we look forward to using LED technologies and some other related emerging technologies to help participate in more net zero buildings and ultimately achieve our goal of helping buildings produce more energy than they consume.
That's absolutely fantastic. So Kurt Pfund, who's principal, ZeroNet USA, thank you for being with us on Emerald Planet, and thank you for watching as we look around the globe, create the Emerald Planet.
This is firstgov.gov, where we're obsessed with getting you government information.
Brand new student loan applications on the site, baby. This calls for a celebration. Where's your uncle?
So in the end, it was either take the astronaut gig or come work here. What can I say? Duty called.
Dude, that's my cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's Sam's cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. Sam's. No.
Just log on or email us and get what you need.
C, change of address form. That's how it's done.
D, driver's license renewal.
E, emailing Social Security information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice, we'll allow it. All right,
What are those?
Government surplus cars for auction.
You posted those online last time.
No, you did.
I'm posting them online this time!
For all your government information, firstgov.gov.
Oh, what have we got here? Sometimes you feel tired. You can't seem to lose those extra pounds off your midsection. And your joints hurt when you take the stairs. Well, you're getting older. But I'm happy to say that there's some simple things we can do to keep you happy and healthy for years to come. We can also lower your risk for some serious diseases the older population is often subject to. Proper nutrition is more important than ever. Your body has changed, you know. Not as many treats. A basic exercise plan, lots of walks and fresh air, and most importantly, come and see me for twice-yearly checkups to help ensure the best possible quality of life. Now, how does that sound? Good boy.
Improve the quality of life for your elderly pet. Schedule twice-yearly checkups that include preventive care and regular lab work. The message from the veterinary members of the American Animal Hospital Association.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking around the globe for what we call the 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that can be used as we have a planet that's going to be going to 9 billion people. Yes, 9 billion people. And we're saying we have a little better than 7 billion right now, and how we're taking care of those. And actually, we're going to be challenged to use all the natural resources, but also the technologies, and to be much more inventive, to create the intellectual property that we need to do things very differently than we're doing in the industrial age. And now as we move through the post-service age of the world and we move towards the knowledge economy, we just have to do much more, much better with a lot less, with many more people. And so we have someone who's actually been doing this for quite some time. His name is Michael R. Lemon. He's the Government Solutions Manager of a very interesting name company called Water Furnace International. And he's going to be coming in by Skype. And sitting right beside me is Kurt J. Fund, who is the principal of ZeroNet USA. And Kurt is here in case we happen to lose Mike by Skype. And Mike, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you, Sam. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, and very interesting what you're doing. And you guys, I think, are really on the cusp of a great movement towards a very special type of energy source. So tell us a little bit about Water Furnace, which is a unique name, and then let's get into the type of energy that you actually have expanded by thousands across the globe.
Sure. Water Furnace is a leading manufacturer of geothermal heat pumps, founded by a bunch of guys that got hit pretty hard in the energy crisis in the 70s, tinkered in their garage, and figured out a way to lower their heating and cooling bills. We've been on the cutting edge of pioneering geothermal systems and solutions, and we currently distribute through our residential solutions through a national, highly trained national dealer network, and then we have a commercial unit and commercial reps both nationally and internationally.
Okay, we're going to bring up a slide here just in a moment, Mike, so we'll have this as a backdrop and talk a little bit about the technology, what it's all about. So tell us what we're looking at here, and why is this so important as we move through the 21st century and we add these 2 billion new souls that we're going to be having to take care of and provide the energy sources to create the jobs and take care of the housing and the food production and all that. Just what are we looking at?
Sure. Geothermal is a system that really exchanges heat energy with the ground or a body of water, and does that to heat and cool our buildings, make our hot water for domestic hot water. And we do that, we take advantage of the water mass and the very temperate nature of the earth. If you go anywhere on this earth and dig a hole down about 30 feet and stick a thermometer on the ground, that temperature is going to be pretty close to the average annual temperature for that spot on the earth. So what we find is in the northern climes, we're going to find between 40 and 50 degrees ground temperature, and in the southern climes, we're going to find 70 and 80. And so if we can look at that as a source to exchange heat, not only extract heat, but to reject unwanted heat from our buildings into, we have less of a hill to climb than if we were going to extract heat from a very, very cold environment that we'd see outside the wall of my house right now. We're down in the teens. I have a geothermal system, and what I have is a vertical ground loop system, and that's a series of plastic pipes that are going down into the ground. I have 5 of them, about 250 feet, and those pipes are a hydronic loop, a ground heat exchanger, and I exchange heat from at this time of year, I'm extracting heat from the ground, and with a pump, I'm moving that heated water back up to the driver of a system, which is a heat pump. And the heat pump is not really a pump.
Now, looking at this, Mike,
it's a transporter.
Yeah, Mike, looking at this, okay, so we understand the winter. I'm going to go back to the slide we had before the summer. So what is the difference? Is this a reverse of what you're doing in the winter, or how does this actually work so that you have a system, really, no matter how cold or how hot the climate may be, it's going to be applicable 12 months of the year?
Absolutely. In the summer, our objective is we're creating internal heat gains in our spaces through, as Kurt said, through the lighting. We also have envelope loads in our house and commercial buildings, which are bringing heat, unwanted heat, into the space, and we want to get that into a comfort zone so we can live, sleep, and be productive. So the heat pump will go ahead and extract heat from the space and move that heat through either an air system into the heat pump itself, which goes through a conventional vapor compression process, which moves that heat into the water, and then we discharge it into the ground. The benefit is that ground is, in the summer, that ground is the same temperature it is in the winter here in La Crosse, Wisconsin, 50 degrees. So I'm not working a condenser unit where I have to really work hard to compress that heat up to a higher pressure in order to get a heat exchange to discharge it out into the atmosphere. So I'm going to put it into the ground where it's my equipment has to do less work.
Well, looking at these slides, and normally we just we talk back and forth, and we don't use our slides that much, but I think what you're doing is so interesting, but also it's probably unique to most people. So let's just continue on with the slides, Mike, if you don't mind. Just tell us what we're looking at here as far as the coils, and I think we have a drilling rig over here. So let's just kind of go through these, and I think this is very instructive for our guests both here and abroad.
Okay, these pictures just give you a little bit of a hands-on of what this ground heat exchanger looks like. And essentially, the picture on the far upper left is a bird's eye view looking down into a vertical hole that was drilled by one of the rigs on the far right, and that could be, depending on the conductivity of the ground, will determine the depth that we drill. And then once we get the hole drilled out, we will put down this pipe, and you'll see 2 pieces of pipe. At the bottom, it's forming a U-bend, so that water is going down into that hole and then coming back out. And during that, it's either exchanging heat by rejecting it to the ground in the summer or extracting it from the ground in the winter. Now that pipe is what they call HDPE. It's a plastic, it's a very durable pipe developed by the natural gas industry. And the advantage of that pipe is that it's fairly flexible but very durable. So once it's in the ground and the system is sealed, it's really there it'll be there well beyond when we see the 2 billion people by 2050.
Now, when we look at this, what you have here, these technologies, it's very complex, and also it's very precise. So when you're working with the government itself, because I know that you've done a lot of work with large government agencies, then with commercial, but then you go all the way down to the homeowner. So what type of engineering and specificity goes into each one of these systems, regardless of the size?
Yeah, the system, unlike conventional systems, which are pretty much, the system is sized against the load for the residential or commercial space. We have to do that, but we have to do a little bit more. We have to go down and look at this ground heat exchanger and properly size that, and find out what the conductivity of the ground is, so we know how much heat we can exchange over a period of time. And that's going to really be a key driver for the economics and the success of the project. And what you see in this picture in the upper left hand is a horizontal trench, and there it's for a commercial application, and you can see it's quite large pipe, about 4-inch pipe moving through that horizontal trench. That will be filled back in, and that will become the heat exchanger, exchanging heat from the building. Below it, you see where headers, and those headers are where we're bringing all these outside underground network of pipe together to bring it into the building. And sometimes we'll header it outside, and that's what you see in the upper right-hand corner. That's called a vault, and that's each one of those represents a circuit or a vertical application. And then in the bottom right-hand side, it's stubbed into the mechanical room, and you can see it's simply pumps and piping. There's no condenser unit or a compressor down there. It's a pump and a piping that's going to move that water throughout that building to terminal units that are going to do the final refrigeration lift.
All right, Mike, we're going to let the slides in, just kind of go, because we're running out of time. We have less than 2 minutes.
All right.
I have a quick question, and I'm going to let Kurt ask you one. But looking at the return on investment, you're looking at low to medium income people. How can they afford something like this? And then how do you use it in commercial buildings, say, such as condos, apartments?
Great question.
And let's be quick.
If we look at that population, we see that their disposable income for fixed and low income, about 30% can go to utilities. So if we can come in with a geothermal system, and we can make a tremendous impact on their quality of life and their security of their money if they're on fixed income. What we're seeing now is the use of water to air systems and hydronic systems, where we'll have a central geothermal field, pump water in, and then each of the apartments may have their own heat pump unit, and they drop heat into that loop or they pull heat from that loop. In aggregate, the system is very, very efficient. It lowers their monthly cost of utilities, and for the owner, it improves the asset value of their building.
Mike, we're about running out of
tremendous opportunity.
Mike, we're running out of time. We're going to lose you, and thank you for being on, because we're down to 30 seconds,
Sure.
and we usually lose our Skype people about now, but we certainly appreciate you being on. But what do you see for the future of Water Furnace? And you got to be quick, about 15, 20 seconds.
I see us taking those 2 billion people and moving heat from where they work to where they live to where they play in a very efficient manner using geothermal.
Fantastic. That's very succinct. Mike Lemon and Kurt Thun, thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Too many women get hit by their boyfriends and husbands. Too many women are pressured into having unprotected sex. Half of the people in the world living with AIDS are women. It doesn't have to be this way. Together, we can change this reality. Let's strive for a world free of violence.
At Volunteers of America, we don't just give kids a way to stay off the streets. We give them the tools they need to reach their full potential. We don't just help the elderly receive needed care. We help them live life to the fullest. We don't just provide food for homeless individuals and families. We provide job training and placement so they can buy groceries. Volunteers of America is a national organization that for over 100 years has provided programs and services that allow people to overcome their challenges to become vital members of their community. At Volunteers of America, we don't just help people, we help people help themselves. Find out how you can support the programs that are working in your community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
Drivers face all kinds of distractions.
Guys, stop playing. No. 127 consecutive.
Before your wireless phone becomes one of them, stop. Drive safely. Keep your phone in easy reach and dial sensibly. In bad weather or traffic, call later and use a hands-free device. Remember, with wireless, safety is your call.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations. Many of these nations are having rapidly expanding populations, and they are going to be contributing to these 2 billion new souls that we have on the planet. And so in these countries, what type of best practices are we able to identify? And how can these various technologies, services, and products be used in all the other countries around the globe, all 214 countries and territories? And we have a gentleman actually that's reaching out and trying to serve virtually all of those countries. A company up in New Jersey that is in all the continents, I think probably excluding Antarctica, but we'll ask about that. But Anthony goes by the name of Tony F. Amorosa, who is the CEO of Mobile Power International. And Tony, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
How you doing, Doc? Sam?
Glad to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about your organization, this Mobile Power International, and then we'll get into some of the services that you are providing around the globe.
All right, well, Mobile Power International is exactly what it is. It's our claim to fame is being mobile, and we make all unique products for things for cell towers, water purification, irrigation, and we're in pretty much all the continents except for Antarctica. We get calls from all over the place for our products because solar power, as you all know, is needed pretty much for everything, not just the water as we advertise and irrigation. So.
Well, we're going to bring up this first slide just to give an idea of some of the technologies and what they really look like. Tony, and I know about you, and I'm going to put in a plug for our mutual good buddy Mike Lee, who has just been doing yeoman's work for so many years around the globe. But what's the uniqueness about mobile power? And we've talked about solar, but actually you guys combine solar and wind together, if I understand your technology.
Yes, the wind, of course, depends on the territories because you need at least 8 to 10 miles an hour to get anything out of that. But what makes us unique is the fact that we're mobile, and you could deploy our units very, very quickly. As quick as you could drop a pump in a lake or a river, you're backing towards the sun, you're ready to go. So that's why our claim to fame is that we really push the mobile. So you're not shipping a bunch of boxes and parts and pieces and they went up all over the place.
Now, looking at what you're doing, you're really almost, in a sense, a one-stop shop. You actually do the creation. You can talk to a client, create the types of technologies and the systems and processes that they need. Then you can go through the design work into manufacturing, testing, and shipping, and actually installation on site. And so what does this term value-added engineering really mean to your company, Mobile Power International?
Well, value-added engineering means if the customer comes in and let's just pick a country, let's just say Bangladesh, they might have they run 3 months out of the year for their agriculture. Well, then they have these machines sitting around for the other 9 months. So our machines could be a dual-purpose machine. We could off the same platform, then we'll purify water. Have the same farmer pull it down to the little villages and purify the water for them. So we take what the customer's asking, and we will take it a step further and try to give them the biggest bang for their buck, basically, without giving up any of our product as far as cheaper quality items or anything like that. Everything is marine grade items, so these are made for outdoors.
Yeah, well, looking at this technology here, we have something that's called reverse osmosis. I think this is one of the processes that you're using for the water purification. Tell us about how you actually use your mobile units to purify water, which is actually, water being the staff of life, is needed virtually in every country on the planet and becoming even more so.
Yeah, well, you have all different types of water purification, and the reverse osmosis would be more for the brackish and seawater type. And there's different, for fresh water, if you were coming from a lake and it's a low TDS level, you would just be using a freshwater system, and it might be just some filters and cartridges and UV like that. So you don't always need the reverse osmosis, so that's where the value added comes in. To if the customer calls us, they have to, they'll have questions that we'll ask them, and then we'll dial them into the right machine. So
I'm going to let Kirk take over. He's here as a Skype backup. We seem to be doing very well with our own technology right now. So Kirk, why don't you ask the next question?
Tony, I'm interested in how your technology integrates with buildings. Can your mobile power units be used to power homes or businesses?
Yeah, sure you can. You would have to daisy chain a bunch of them together. If you were going to do a building, commercial building, you would want to put it up on the roof, or unless you have a lot of land, then you would just daisy chain the units together. Ours is more for, and if you were doing it for a house, you could do the same thing. But define that's where we come in, and we have to ask the question: what are you trying to accomplish? Are you keeping the building? Are you going to be able to get the tax credits? Ours is mobile. So if you had, say, for argument's sake, a base camp for the military, you could pull in 20 of these units, plug them in all together, and you're up and running in a couple hours. Where you would, if you have to do it the other way, you're putting together a bunch of nuts and bolts and all wired, and ours is all pre-wired. Ours is like putting a bunch of Christmas lights together, basically.
Well, looking at what you're doing, go ahead.
It's got its purposes for buildings, and in some cases you wouldn't use it for that. So it's all tailored to the customer. We wouldn't just sell you something just for the sake of selling to you. You have to have the need, and you have to see the payback of it too. So.
Well, Tony, that goes back to this value-added engineering. Is that one side of that value-added engineering is that you're giving the client exactly what it is they want, but at the same time you're looking at what other uses, as you were saying, that you may be able to get out of this equipment. So it's actually being used almost on a 24/7, 365 basis. But what do you see for the expansion of these mobile renewable? Many of the solar and the wind units are stationary. They may be in an industrial park. They're going up more and more on housing or high-rise apartment buildings. But looking at mobile renewable power supplies, how do you see that expansion over, say, the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, like I said, the fact that we're mobile, we're going to be a bigger use in the third world countries, in places where they don't have the infrastructure. That's where we're going to come into play. The fact that our militaries could pull them in, and if they have to change their base camp and they're going to move 100 miles away, they could pack it all in pretty quick, unfold the panels, and drive it away. That's where we're going to come in. We're not, of all things, we're not going to be a permanent piece in a grid type country like we are. Now we do have a lot of areas in our area that could, in our country, that could use us, but more or less for the third world countries are going to be needed. They don't have to pay for the telephone poles and all that expensive infrastructure. You're paid for. You can put in DC power would be the way to go in these third world countries.
Well, I think this is one of the things that you've been working on for some time, Mike, is that it's really the appropriate technology for the country, the community, even the home where this is going to be used. And as you were saying, a grid-centric country like the United States, or say the European nations, or Japan, even China and Brazil and India now, is that you really need to have a way to get power to places. But looking at your equipment, I'm going to go back and forth between these two slides, Mike. How does this relate to disaster recovery, and even before that, disaster planning?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you using this technology? How does that fit into the schema for disaster planning and disaster recovery, having these mobile units?
Well, we have a lot of new products coming out for that. For the volunteer, you have fire departments in our country, let's just say. Well, we want to put together one for a FEMA-type trailer that would have the solar, water purification, power, that could pull right in for the disaster, for the FEMA-type needs. Haiti situation, we could, you could put the cots on them. It could be a trailer that you pull right up just for a disaster at any time. We had disasters up in New Jersey, a few years back, that there was floods, and they would have worked out perfect. If you'd have tents on these, canned foods and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of things you could do with these things being mobile. Not competing with in this country with the with the grid power. We're not going to be of that. We're for our own infrastructure. We're working on.
Well, you look at it, Mike. United States is one country, a very important one, and has a real impact as far as the population base and also the economy on the world economy. But there's just happens to be 213 other countries and territories out there, so that's a broad base for your company to work on. But looking at these units, the mobiles that we have here, this is something, as you say, you can pull it up, deploy it, and it's almost functioning immediately. So tying in the solar units as well as some of the wind power, how does that really go to the purpose of Mobile Power International?
Well, the fact that it's deployable so quickly it is the main reason that is why it is so.
Well, looking at it, what do you see for the future as far as your company over, say, the next 5, 10, 15 years as we move towards 2050? And these developing countries we talked about are seeking more and more power.
Well, the sky's the limit there. As soon as the word gets out to a lot of these countries, they're all going to have to go this way, because where they're going to have to put infrastructure. Here in the States, you got telephone poles all over the place. Over there, they don't need to put them. They don't need to put them in. They don't have to pay for all that infrastructure. You could be out anywhere, and you got your power, and depends on the water source. We could take care of that. And so there's a lot of different ways now that the Wi-Fi systems are getting better. And the other countries, going to be able to do a lot more.
Well, we're going to be losing you, Mike. Thank you for being with us. This is Anthony F. Amorosa, who is CEO of Mobile Power International. And sitting right beside me is Kurt Vun, who is the principal of ZeroNet USA. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Around the world, 1 out of every 3 women will be beaten or otherwise abused in their lifetime, often by a family member or loved one. A future free from violence. It's all she's ever wished for.
Did you know you have the power to stop children from joining gangs? You can help a father find a job and home for his family. You can assist a woman who can't afford the medicine she needs to live and the home she can't live without. You can choose to make a difference in our community. Support Volunteers of America, and you can help improve the lives of nearly 2 million Americans each year with programs and services that help individuals and families overcome their challenges to become as independent as possible. Support the programs that are working in our community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
For some folks, saving for the future is easy, but for you, it might take a little more effort. Saving for your future is your responsibility, and there's a lot to save for.
I never thought of that.
like your child's education, perhaps uncovered medical expenses, or just to be sure you can live the way you want when you retire. The time is now to save for tomorrow. Save now or work forever. The choice is yours. Choose to save.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States on a weekly basis, looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, the services, and the products that will be useful to a planet that's going to have 9 billion souls by 2050. And so as we move through the 21st century, how are we going to be able to take care of all those basic needs? And you know, we talk about the food, the fuel, the fiber, the healthcare, education, water, which is really the staff of life and the very essence. But also one of the things that's overlooked, whether it's in the developing world or the developed world, and also in disaster areas, is housing. How do we come in, put in the housing so that actually it's readily available, but at a cost that most people can afford? Because as we know of the world's population now moving towards 7.5 billion people, almost half of the population live on less than about $2 per day. So how can we take care of that? And we have a young lady who has been working on this a number of years. Her name is Leslie C. Horn. She is the CEO of what's called 3 Squared Inc. And she's going to be coming into us by Skype. And then Kurt J. Thun, who is principal of ZeroNet USA, is here in case we lose Leslie by Skype. So, Leslie, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Well, thanks, Dr. Hancock. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you. Tell us, this is a very unique name, 3 Squared. How did you come up with that?
Well, it was a branding collaboration with some of the best practiced branders, and actually the name fit who we are. You know, the squareness of the company and of the materials that we use, and actually the different venues in which we can use them. So it was a great, exciting time when we came up with that.
I think it's interesting, and I'm going to bring up this first slide that you shared with us, and people are going to be amazed at what they're looking at. Tell us, Leslie, what are we looking at here besides a very attractive building? Looks like a urban scape, but there's something very unique about this.
Absolutely. This actually is our very first building. It is a 4,400 square foot live workspace. There's 2 units on either side. And what's really great about it is that they are framed from 12 shipping containers. And that's the exciting part of this company.
Well, I tell you, that's really unique, because you look at this, it looks like any other very, I guess, almost retro design, very modern building in downtown USA or many countries overseas. But it's exciting that you're actually doing this out of shipping containers. And then you look at a building like this and you say, wow, look at this. Yeah. Tell us about this building.
Yeah, this building is actually going to be our very, very first multifamily unit. It'll be 20 units. It's using 93 shipping containers. And the great thing about this building, instead of taking approximately 2 months to frame out with lumber and labor, we will have this building framed in less than 7 days. The units are 820 square feet up to 1,900 square feet. But what we're doing is we're able to build a lot faster, a lot stronger, and way more cost efficient by utilizing the shipping containers.
One of the things I think is very interesting about your design work, Leslie, is if you look at this, how you're incorporating nature in this. And I have a very, very good friend who's been on several times, Eddie Johnson, and one of the things he's constantly talking about is that you have to have an interior escape that allows for the health of the building itself, but also the humans, and then also the health outside surrounding it. So it seems like you're using something that's very industrial, shipping containers. I mean, there's nothing more basic than that. And yet, let's go back to this slide. You're creating this very beautiful space, but you're including nature in this. So tell us a little bit about the concept of 3 Squared and how you're fitting all these components together to make a very livable space.
Well, it's because of all the new technologies that are out right now, green and sustainable, and we're incorporating and blending a lot of those technologies in with ours to make it more organic and sustainable and way more energy efficient. And by doing so, we complete a really cool package. It's a design that we're not, the leaders of. We're not the new creators. You just put up a slide there that shows Starbucks. They've already got 3 drive-throughs that are comprised from shipping containers. And actually, they are expanding their drive-through force to over 600 new drive-throughs in the United States and worldwide. And they're actually going to make about 300 to 400 of them out of shipping containers. So the versatility really shows it for itself because they don't have to look like a shipping container.
Well, and obviously they don't. As you know, I have Kurt with me sitting right here from Zero Net USA. And so since we seem to be doing well on Skype, I've asked Kurt if he could ask the next question.
Yeah, Leslie, I'm aware that you have another company as well, CargoLink, and we're just wondering how the two relate.
Thank you, Kurt. And it's been a long journey, but CargoLink is actually the technology side of our company. 3 Squared is our real estate development company, and CargoLink is where we have devised and developed a lot of technology. We've got our patents and trade secrets, but it's the things that actually make the shipping containers stronger and makes us build a lot faster. And, again, we're not the creators of this. Europe has been far ahead of us in shipping container construction. And what's great about the slide that you have right there is that's Travelodge. Travelodge has completed 3 hotels utilizing shipping containers. And they're saving on average 23 to 26% of the bottom line on their budgets just by implementing shipping containers.
Well, looking at some of the common applications in real estate, we have the one here as far as the hotel is concerned. But who is this charming young man here, and how does he relate? And then who does he happen to be kin to?
Well, we've been very honored to bring in on our staff Eric Lloyd Wright. And that's who this young man here is. He happens to be the grandson of Frank Lloyd Wright, and he was able to study under his grandfather as well. The Lloyd Wright legacy reaches back 146 years, and he is now coming in to lead our architectural team into making our buildings beautiful. What his grandfather was able to do, Frank Lloyd Wright, was very specific. They were early adapters to passive solar, so they really created and brought in nature and really was able to blend in the organic and sustainable aspect of nature as well as just really in whole buildings. So Eric has come on to lead our team. We're excited to have him on board. He joins about 23 of us who are very committed to the success of 3 Squared and really developing a brand and developing a product that is safe. What we really learned is that people don't care what their walls are made out of. What they care about is that they're safe and that they're energy efficient. I always say this out loud. We can fly people to the moon and actually we can bring them back, but we can't build a house that's going to last longer than 40 years and it's going to be energy efficient. And that's what our team is committed to do right now, is we're committed to shifting the way construction is done.
Well, I think looking at this photograph that you shared with us, Leslie, with this young couple, really it's the picture is worth 1,000 words. But looking at your projects, you talked about Starbucks, you talked about the hotel chain, many other international brands. Where are the projects located? You talked about Europe and the expansion there earlier than the United States. And how do people get involved with 3 Squared?
Well, We have right now about $300 million of projects in our pipeline to build in the next 24 months. They are all over the United States, and they absolutely include the on an international basis as well. There's about 3 ways people are getting involved with our company. Number 1, people may have land. They may have a project they want to bring to us and explore how they can build utilizing shipping containers. Or number 2, they can invest in the company. We're in our 3rd round of funding, just about 900,000 shy of the finishing last part of that. However, the 3rd piece is really, we believe that in bringing different types of projects into our database and different projects that span from emergency relief, disaster relief, to communities, schooling, things of that sort. So we're looking at people to joint venture with us as well.
Well, looking at these projects, I'm going to go back to this one here, which looks like it's in a desert area, and then looks very modern and open and interior design. Looking at the energy efficiency of this is something sitting out, looks like it's in the desert, and yet you're talking about energy efficiency in containers. So what's the bridge for all of this so that's comfortable, energy efficient, and yet provides a very high quality surrounding for the life as we move through the 21st century?
Well, we really do specifically impress on the safety aspect and making sure that, for example, our insulation, which is a ceramic style insulation, has an R factor of 140. I mean, we're really putting in new technologies that make it very energy efficient, but we're making them all work together. Sometimes I think in this type of construction, people are just building a house, but they're replacing lumber with containers. We actually have to take it in a different way so that your HVAC systems and your plumbing, as well as your insulation, all work together. So it's a whole body approach. And that's the approach that we take it. What's inside your wall? Absolutely.
Well, looking at this, these are very attractive, and we're just about running out of time, Leslie. We have about 30 seconds. What do you see for the future of not just 3 Square, but the use of shipping containers for housing, offices, police offices, barracks, classrooms, all that as we move through towards 2050? And we have to be quick.
Yeah, we absolutely think that it can be a very, very easy and a new up-and-coming changing type of technology. So we're real excited about all of this and making it more, I think, common than not in commercial infrastructure.
Well, Leslie C. Horn, who is CEO of 3 Squared, also the Cargo Link, we really appreciate you being with us. And Kurt Fund, who's sitting right beside me, of ZeroNet USA. It's just fascinating to look at the new building styles, the energy efficiency, and we really thank you, dear viewers, for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.